Hello and welcome to Everyday Tarot, your daily dive into the divine wisdom of the tarot. I'm your host, Camille A. Saunders, healer, tarot enthusiast, and your local witch next door. And today I'm talking about the Six of Cups. Whether you're a seasoned tarot reader or just starting to explore, this podcast offers daily insights, intuitive messages, and practical advice drawn from the cards. Each episode is designed to help you connect with your inner wisdom, find clarity in your decisions, and tap into the energy of the universe. Tune in every day, Monday through Friday, for fresh perspectives and empowering guidance from the tarot as interpreted by me. If you love the show, the best way to support it is by listening daily, leaving a review, and subscribing or following in your favorite podcast app. For monthly hangouts, tarot Q&As, individual readings, and behind-the-scenes peeks, you can join the Everyday Tarot Patreon family. If you're local to the Greater Puget Sound area, check out my Let's Talk Tarot meetup group for the latest event postings. If you're not local to my area, you can join me for a virtual tarot card creation event on Friday, June 20th at 5 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. I'll give you a list of recommended supplies, we'll meet online, and I'll walk you through the process of creating your own cards. And I have a sign-up link now, so that will be linked in the show notes and on my website. If you're interested in my free PDF with the 2025 5-card tarot spread I created just for you at the beginning of this year, you can get that by joining my newsletter list. My weekly newsletter always has the most up-to-date information on my upcoming events, presentations, musings, and more. And if you don't already know, I'm a sex and relationships therapist seeing clients virtually all over Washington State. I love working with queer, poly, and witchy clients. If you'd like to work with a therapist that doesn't judge you, is a little bit witchy just like you, and helps you learn how to deal with your anxiety, chronic pain or illness, communication issues, self-advocacy, and sex, head to my website and book a free consultation now. You can find the links for any of these offers in my show notes or on the website, CamilleASaunders.com/everydaytarot, in addition to the images of the cards I pull on each episode. All right, so we are in season 9 right now, where I'm talking all about the Suit of Cups, going through each card, one per episode. If you haven't listened to my other seasons yet, you can check those out. Season 1 was all about tarot basics. Seasons 2 and 3, I went through all the major arcana cards and the 4 suits. Season 4, I talked tarot in pop culture. Season 5, I went through 13 common tarot spreads. Seasons 6, 7, and 8 were the Suit of Wands, Pentacles, and Swords. So we're finishing out the suits here with Season 9 talking about the Suit of Cups. And if you want to hear an episode dedicated to an overview of the whole Suit of Cups, you can check out episode 38. But today I'm talking specifically about the Six of Cups. If you have a tarot deck, go ahead and take it out and find your Six of Cups cards and look at some of the images or symbols on the card. So I have a couple decks in front of me here, and I see images or symbols related to memories, like overturned cups, like this sort of like haunting, again, or memory side of things. Lots of like flowers, gratitude, blossoming, sun, the past. Those are some of the things that I see. On the Ophidia Rosa Tarot deck by Leela and Olive, for this card, there's a flower in the middle, kind of looking like maybe a sunflower, or perhaps like a dahlia. We have sort of, it almost looks like, so there's like 2 stems on either side of the flower with flowers that are upside down, and perhaps there's this sort of like aging process of the flowers, like maybe they're getting dried out, or these were the ones from the past. And then we have 2 stems above it, each with red flowers on it, and then we have, I think, a sun at the top. It's sort of, yeah, I'm not quite sure if it's a sun, but I believe so. And in this deck, they talk about that, let's see, we are on the Six of Cups. So the phrase associated with the Six of Cups in here says symmetrical hearts in a world stemming out. And that is kind of what we see on the card, the symmetry. We see these stems, and also this sort of, like, right, if you think of symmetry or sort of like mirrored things, right, we also, that's sort of like how memories often are, where we sort of see the past and how it reflects on our current or future self. In the Therapist Who Tarot deck, by prompts by Drea Bloom and images by Rebecca Bloom, we see 6 cups, and they're pretty much all like overturned, some of them more than others, but with liquid spilling out. We see this blue kind of liquid on the ground, and the ground itself is yellow. And then we see almost like ghosts, or again, sort of this like spooky, haunted, like people above the cups. And there's 6 of them as well. And it says the word associated with this card is memories. And then this one does not have a tarot deck guidebook with it, but it does have prompts or reflection questions on the back. And so those are: what seeds should you be planting? In what area of your life should you be more decisive? And what should you cut out of your life? All right. And then finally, I'm looking at the Sacervito Tarot deck by Stasia Burrington. This one, we have, again, like flowers. We have this blue color of perhaps like melancholy. But this, like when I look at this image, it looks pretty optimistic. Like we see a person, their head is tilted back and they have kind of like golden hair. And we see these like flowers almost like blossoming out of their chest. And there's 6 flowers for the 6 cups. And then we also see, I believe, 6 blue butterflies in the background. And this person looks like, yeah, that something's coming out of them. Again, maybe it's sort of this like grief or memory aspect, or sort of like reflecting on the past, or maybe becoming like unburdened is maybe another thing I would imagine for this card. But it has a very like lightness to this card as well. So maybe part of it is the person like feeling lighter after maybe talking about past or recognizing things from the past. So in the Library of Esoterica tarot book by Toshin, they talk about that the 6 of Cups is all about recuperation and return to self. The 6 of Cups marks the dawn after darkness, a renewed hope. This card can also symbolize nostalgia and the playful innocence of childhood. So there is this sort of lightness to the card with that childhood or nostalgia part of it. In the Tarot and Astrology book by Karine Kenner, they talk about the 6 of Cups is associated with the Sun in Scorpio. So maybe this is also part of why we see all the like different images of the sun on these cards. It says the sun illuminates even the darkest corners of the zodiac. When the sun becomes the sub-ruler of Scorpio, it burns away the shadows of grief and loss and brings a bright reminder of happier days. Scorpio is a fixed water sign of the zodiac that makes it intensely emotional and unwavering in its beliefs about life and love. Scorpio does have a tendency to obsess silently over emotional relationships, as well as unquenched desires and unrequited love. Given enough time and sunshine, someone in the throes of the second decan of Scorpio could even convince themselves that the past was always perfect. And while Scorpio can be intensely sad, diving to the depths of despair when relationships fail, the sun can also rise to corresponding heights of happiness and joy. In fact, the Golden Dawn designers of this card called the sun in Scorpio the Lord of Pleasure because it depicts the harmony of friendships and connection. In a tarot reading, the 6 of Cups often represents nostalgia, happy childhood memories, lasting connections with siblings, and reunions with lifelong friends. It can symbolize a reconciliation after an insult, an argument, or a separation. All right, in the Fearless Tarot book by Elliot Adam, How to Give a Positive Reading in Any Situations, they say that the 6 of Cups is about the past, looking back at what made you happy in the past. It says many people look at the past and fixate on the difficult moments. However, if you look at your past in its totality, you will realize among the difficulties there were times when you were joyful and optimistic about the future. The past holds important clues as to what will bring you fulfillment in the future. If you felt happy before, you can feel happy again. Who were you at your happiest? Had the pursuit of security taken over your life, causing you to forget your joy? Is it easier to remember the bad things that happened in the past rather than good? It says the imagery of this card often depicts a little girl's happy memory. The girl is receiving a gift of flowers. Flowers and gardens are her bliss. There's many joyful feelings that flowers conjure up for her, and in the future she wants to have a house, a garden, and a courtyard just like this. The flowers are shaped like stars. This ties the imagery of this card to the star card and represents the renewal of hope. In this case, hope is renewed by finding the eternal elements of your bliss within your memory. It says the Six of Cups asks you to remember what brought you bliss, what brought you happiness way back when. This will remind you of who you really are and what life pursuits will bring you fulfillment in the future. All right. And then in the Tarot for Change book by Jessica Dorr, she talks about sort of, again, that getting like fixated on things from the past, or sort of repetitive behaviors or patterns that we might have that may have been called dysfunctional or maladaptive or unhealthy in the past. And she says the tenderness in the image of the Six of Cups tells a secret. What if, instead of beating ourselves up for the things we do over and over again that we wish we didn't, we saw these behaviors as highly intelligent, as the creation of rituals that would mark, preserve, and facilitate a return to emotional experiences that are sacred to us? If we could validate that in a terrifying world, to feel safe is sacred. To be soothed is sacred. This way, maybe we could understand, like water running beneath earth stands under, above, an above ground layer that is more than what it appears, why we do what we do before we start in with the judgments. Instead of calling ourselves stuck or hopeless or lost, we could call ourselves lovers of beauty and of belonging, lovers of deep emotional resonance, just trying to recall some sacred feeling. And then, maybe, if necessary, we could begin to explore new ways to recall these same feelings, new rituals for feeling safe and soothed. I like that sort of reframing of it, right? Instead of saying, oh, I'm stuck in the past, or I'm feeling hopeless, or this or that, we can imagine sort of what were the benefits of some of those happy times in the past, and how do we sort of work towards those, recreate them, cultivate that in our lives again, sort of maybe things from childhood, like coloring or playing outside or digging in the dirt, right? Things that sometimes when we get into adulthood, we label as like childish. But a lot of us also experience, right, the sort of bliss sometimes as a child that comes from just the sense of carefreeness, or just sort of not really caring about what other people think about what you're doing, and just sort of doing the things that you like doing in the moment, right? Being very present. Children are often very present. All right, so let's dive in and see what the cards have to say today on this topic. I'm pulling cards from the Citadel, a Fantasy Oracle by Fen Inkwright. All right, here. And I'm going to be thinking about, again, how do we recognize sort of positive things from the past, gratitude, memories, nostalgia? How do we incorporate, right, some of those maybe inner child or joyful behaviors or times into our current life and into adulthood? And how do we sort of be kind to ourselves about things from the past? Again, if you've listened to these episodes in order, right, we talked about the Five of Cups as sort of this like challenging card of feeling like really, maybe stuck in that, or disappointment, or things that didn't work out. And now as we move to the Six of Cups, right, there's this sort of like, okay, right, maybe some of those things didn't work for me, or I don't really want to do those behaviors anymore, right? I've reflected, and now I want to choose a more joyful future, a way to, right, maybe put joy and being present in the body as the main goal in my life, which is very different than, I would say, what a lot of society tells us we should care about. All right, I pulled the guide in reverse, and it says inheritance and correction. Interesting. So let me look that up in here. I don't think I've pulled this one before. Okay, so it says reversed. I'll read the reversal and then I'll see if it would be helpful to read the upright as well. So it says, after a long struggle to put things right, not helped by others, you have found confidence in your ability to overcome whatever is next. Take a moment to congratulate yourself on your perseverance and make room in your life for the next challenge. Well, I feel like that kind of speaks for itself, right? We're recognizing our past struggles, right? How maybe we weren't helped by others, or how maybe they contributed, right, to that struggle, or how our mindset or how we viewed it. We've found confidence in our abilities, right? We've looked back on the past and been like, actually, I've made it through a lot of these things, right? I have made it through struggles. I've come out the other side. And now we can believe in our ability to do that in the future. And it's right, we're also congratulating ourselves. We're saying, good job, right? We're saying that actually we have learned and made, right? We hope to make different choices in the future. We're making room for potential future challenges that are going to come up, even though that's not always fun to think about, right? We can believe in our ability to deal with what happens next, especially if we can look at the past and recognize, like, okay, again, I made it through. It wasn't easy, but I kind of made it through out to the other side. I'm proud of myself for what I did. I have gratitude, right, for my past self that had to go through that. And also I can think about how I'm going to integrate my current self with my future self and write these things of the future, and how we can guide our own path, right? This card is about the guide. And I think upright, right, it can be about this level of like, oh, I need to correct my guide, like where I'm going. And this is saying like, no, actually, like you did that work, right? Where we did the reflection, we did the looking at the past, and now we're just sort of looking towards the future. All right, so links for the tarot decks I talk about will always be in the show notes and on my website if you'd like to look at them or purchase them. And thanks for joining me today on Everyday Tarot. Just as a reminder, the podcast comes out daily, Monday through Friday for all of 2025. All right, you can email me, me, at CamilleASaunders.com with your thoughts, questions, and more. I would love to hear from you, and I'll talk to you soon. Okay, bye-bye.